to increase ZEPBOUND dose. Hi, beautiful friends. I'm Elizabeth. I have lost over 98 pounds in the last 22 months of being on ZEPBOUND. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about what has worked well for me. Having been on GLP-1 medication the last 22 months, my experience, strength, and hope, of not coming from a medical background, I will always punch you to a healthcare provider. And that's first and foremost tip number one. For increasing your dose, I have a little a flow chart. I love me a flow chart. And so talk to your healthcare provider is always number one. Their opinion is the one that matters most because they have your health conditions. These are what have worked really, really well for me and have been one of the early guinea pigs. The early guinea pigs that started on Mounjaro and moved over to ZEPBOUND and because of the shortages, and then to tirzepatide compound, and now back over to ZEPBOUND. And so talking with my healthcare provider, making sure I'm having the up-to-date blood panels, like that is first and foremost number one before we like dive into what's worked really well for me. Number two is food chatter. For me, one of the top things that happened was food chatter. Now, I have been full context on ZEPBOUND 15 milligrams for a long time now because it's the highest dose. And so it's been a while since I've been on the lowest dose, which is ZEPBOUND 2.5 milligrams, or if you're on Mounjaro for type 2 diabetes, Mounjaro 2.5 milligrams. Food chatter coming back. And you may say, Elizabeth, pray tell, what is food chatter? It is that talking noise, talk, of where you're thinking about food. And for me, it would come in the format of, I'm a very high functioning person. You probably are too, of where I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a serial entrepreneur. My life has been fairly successful overall, except for the juggernaut of food. And so I could mitigate and handle a lot of stuff, but my brain would go to, even with trying to control it as best I could, it would go into thoughts of, gosh, what am I gonna eat? Maybe I should have a donut. And then thinking about that donut over and over and over. Donut throughout the day. No, I don't wanna have a donut. I'm trying to lose weight. Which I was always trying to lose weight. And then are people going to be watching me eat the donut? And how am I going to, maybe I'll have one donut, but if I have one donut, I'm going to get 6 donuts. And if I have 6 donuts, I'm going to be sick. And that's really going to mess up my blood sugar and shush it. Like that food chatter for me, the first thing that happened with when I started on Mounjaro and then have moved over to ZEPBOUND was the silencing. The silencing of my brain. I had not experienced anything like that in decades. Of where it was all is quiet, all is well. In my brain, of where it was just quiet. It had silenced those thoughts, which subsequently opened up about, that's a topic for another day, about the brain patterns of how to be highly productive on GLP-1 medication. Totally can do another video on that, but let's stay at the topic at hand. So the food chatter came back for me. And I like to discern this. This is my experience, strength, and hope. It is not medical advice, never to be interpreted as medical advice. But for me, starting off on the first dose, that's a loading dose. I was not meant to camp out there. I do come from the philosophy of my own opinion that I've talked about is staying on doses as long as I possibly could. I regret that. That was a huge mistake for me to titrate up super, super quickly. I'm on ZEPBOUND 15 milligrams, the highest dose, and there's nowhere else for me to go. I'm at the ceiling. So I would encourage my previous self, if I was just taking a GLP-1 medication 22 months ago, maybe take the first loading dose for a month, maybe 2 months, but then move on. But then camp out at those longer than I did because I ended up being on ZEPBOUND. It was Mounjaro 5 milligrams, but now I'm on ZEPBOUND because of the shortage. For ZEPBOUND or Mounjaro 5 milligrams for 1 month. I wish I had stayed on that longer because there's some other tools I could have used, like rotating the injection sites. For me, this is the biggest, easiest thing to do. Many people will combat me on this. There's no such evidence of rotating the 3 injection sites that Eli Lilly tells us that has any documentation of changing the way that the interaction of a shot is. For me, it majorly does. At the beginning, when I go back to this beautiful lady who was morbidly obese, it mattered a lot where I did my injection. And Eli Lilly tells us in our literature, in our little box that we get, it tells us this with this purple part of where to do it. Near the belly button, it's the specific places. I'm making it generic in my words, but follow their instructions. The back of the arm and the upper thigh. Picking one of those 3 spots and then subsequently rotating left, right, I would move it around so it's not the same spot within that. I have different reactions within my body with where I'm injecting it. You may not. Some people don't. Some people do. And my free encouragement group that has thousands of people, I'll link that down in the description link below, as is all the free resources I'm going to be talking about today. My free meal plan. Sorry, that's my reminder to come talk to you guys today. My free meal plan that was dietitian created, a ton of free stuff for you linked in the description link below, but I digress. So with these rotating places, that for me makes a big difference. If you are at a weight stall, for me when I was at a weight stall, first thing I would do is change where I was injecting. It makes a big difference. And it mattered back then, but I'll tell you what, it literally mattered 3 weeks ago. I was at the 93-pound weight loss. I was at a weight stall, a ZEPBOUND weight stall. It was so frustrating. Week in, week out, week in, week out. I'd come on here and be like, I've lost 93 pounds, which is amazing. Like from somebody who was morbidly obese to now be able to ride horses and roller coasters and be the best mom I can be and the best wife I can be and the best business owner I can be. To now being so super active. But one of the things that got me through that weight stall was changing my injection site. Even still today, 22 months later, I was doing the back of my arm because for me, that is where the best success is. And I started doing it on my thigh. Boom, massive appetite suppression, had some side effects that came with it. It was wonky. And I think part of it is, this is just, again, my opinion. I'm very science oriented. I will always cite my sources. Being factually accurate is a requirement for me. But on this, the 3 spots for injection, I have no other scientific data on this other than my own experience, strength, and hope, and having been on this medication. So people come in and scientists, people come in and for me, it does make a big difference. Could that be because I have a ton of stretch marks and a ton of, well, mainly a ton of stretch marks. And because of that scar tissue, maybe that's affecting, I don't know. I don't know. On my stomach, there is a ton of loose skin. It looks like bread dough, but that's okay. And it also has a ton of scar tissue on my stomach too from being pregnant with my 2 kids. And so like that plus weight loss, anyways, it's kind of a mess, but that's okay. Love, grace, kindness, and compassion. So my stomach is the worst injection spot for me. I will have the most hunger. I will have the least side effects, but the most hunger, and usually I won't have very much weight loss with that injection site for me. So on countessofshopping.com, I have a free tracker. I will link it down below. If you want to track, which I would encourage for you to find your data, you may find after a couple of months, it doesn't matter. But that for me, before titrating up when to increase my ZEPBOUND dose, I rotate my injection site. You know why I didn't rotate my injection site? Because I was afraid. I was very, very afraid. And if you're afraid too, I can completely understand that and relate to that, being very afraid of changing those injection sites. Tip number 2, side effects. For me, the best thing I did for my side effects when I first started many, many months ago, here's my before and after, 22 months ago, was I bought LMNT electrolytes because I knew that they're with athletes, sharpshooters, really high-level athletes. I'm like, I want to be where the Olympic athletes are, or like the high-level athletes are. So I bought LMNT electrolytes knowing that it would probably help me with side effects, but having no idea 22 months ago what a big impact LMNT electrolytes would have on my body for ZEPBOUND side effects, for Mounjaro side effects, and tirzepatide side effects. It helped me with, and that's one of the things is, have you had high side effects with your dose? If you just got over some side effects, and usually the most common ones are the gastrointestinal, diarrhea, constipation, nausea, vomiting. Those are totally the most common ZEPBOUND side effects. But body aches, fatigue, I've had all of those. It feels like the flu sometimes with my injection, and I have other videos specifically on those. But with the side effects, you know what helps me? Taking the day before, the day of, and the next day for sure, if not every day, is LMNT electrolytes. They have helped me so much with the gastrointestinal, having a lot of diarrhea, not to be gross, but stuff expels out, and I need to replenish those things. Having constipation, because LMNT electrolytes has magnesium, potassium, and sodium, it helps with constipation. So it's helped me so much with both of those. And I usually use a stick and a full 40-ounce tumbler. You can customize it totally to what you want for your side effects or how you're feeling. But there's now LMNT sparkling electrolytes in cans. And if you see me at the car pickup line, mind your business, because I probably have a bunch of these in my car. They're usually in my cup holder. My personal favorite is grapefruit and also the cherry limeade. But the Duke loves watermelon. Before my 9-year-old soccer games, he always has an LMNT electrolyte. Why? Muscle recovery. He gets horrible leg cramps. I used to get horrible leg cramps with ZEPBOUND and Mounjaro. Not when I take LMNT electrolytes. Those electrolytes have massively, massively helped me with side effects. So my encouragement for you is if you're having side effects, maybe not titrating up and talking to your healthcare provider about perhaps not, but you can go to LMNT electrolytes, drinklmnt.com/queen. They have given us 8 free sticks with any purchase. And now with it being colder season, having their chocolate electrolytes, oh my gosh, I put those in my coffee. I'll use maybe a third to a half of a stick in my coffee with a coffee frother. It is so good. Or I'll put it in my Profi, my protein coffee. It is amazing though with hot beverages to put the chocolate medley in. It's so good. It's so, so, so good. So that's kind of like for cold and for hot, depending on, y'all, I like literally have like, I'm double fisting. I have my coffee in one hand, my tumbler in the other, like cold and hot. So as the temperature changes, I've completely adapted my electrolyte strategy with it too. So if you are thinking about when to increase your ZEPBOUND dose or when to increase your Mounjaro dose, maybe if you're having a ton of side effects, not increasing your dose. It's only going to make it perhaps worse. Again, I'm not a healthcare provider. I'll punch you to your healthcare provider. And the percentage of people who stop taking GLP-1 medications is astounding. Do you know why? There's several reasons, but one of them is side effects. And so staying on a lower dose, if you've had side effects, to me, it blows my mind the people who titrate up who are like, I just came out of blowout diarrhea. And I'm like, why are you increasing your dose? Why not camp out there for a little bit longer? 1 more month, 4 more weeks, talk to your healthcare provider. To me, it just doesn't make common sense smart to poke the bear if you just got over side effects or you're knee deep in side effects. If you're having massive fatigue, perhaps it's not the best time to increase your dose because it may lead to more side effects. I do like to say, as a friend talking to a friend, my side effects for me varied depending on the dose. Just because I had one side effect at one dose does not mean I wasn't going to have it at other doses. That's my experience too. So there's that. Tip number 4, protein focus for fullness. So as that food chatter came back, I did not do this at the beginning. At the beginning, I was honestly just getting used to portion sizes. From going to plates, plural, that were this big, to then much smaller portion sizes, that was as great as I could do. And a round of applause too, because I think we all come in at different levels of, for me, a very disordered level of eating that needed to be healed with this journey. And I can look back and be like, binge eating every single night and eating copious amounts of food late at nighttime. It was really sad. It was a sad existence. I mean, I look back and I'm like, I am so sad for this chickadee. She did not want to do that every night, but did do it every night. And during COVID, it was off to the races. Anyways, I digress. So grateful for this medication because I could focus in on just having smaller portions when I first started. And maybe that's where you are too. And if that's where you are too, great, focus in on that. But for me, I knew that as I continued to go on this journey, week after week after week, I could start then working on a protein focus for fullness. For me, my dietitian, a GLP-1 dietitian, told me to have 100 to 125 grams of protein per day. I do not hit that on the first 24 to 36 hours because I'm full. And I'm of the mindset I'm not going to force feed myself. Some people have different opinions on that. That's my personal opinion. I'm not going to force feed myself. I'm going to go and ride the wave. You can see that video where I talk about riding the wave of appetite suppression. Click that like and subscribe button and you can see the full playlist. My protein fullness now, I will be hitting after the 36-hour mark, excuse me, and I get acid reflux too, by the way. That is a ZEPBOUND side effect for me, where I just feel like I'm going to throw up. Oh, I'm not. So excuse me when I do that. That is the ZEPBOUND side effect right there, full effect. But protein for fullness, having that after the 36-hour-ish, it's not exact, but around that ballpark for me. And then I'm tracking, baby. I'm tracking to make sure I'm having my protein for me 125 grams because I do lift now. I do lift weights to help prevent muscle mass loss and to combat that and to really help my bone density. And so going back over here, that's tip number 4, really working on protein for fullness, because if I feel like, oh, I've gotten hunger back, hunger's coming back, is it really that? Or am I just eating not the most nutritious food? Do I need to have maybe some salad and some fiber and some vegetables and nutrient dense foods, and then protein as well? Like, that's been a whole learning curve for me. But for me, when to increase the ZEPBOUND dose was when hunger mage came back. And then once that came back, it's like, I could have tweaked that better by having more protein in my diet, which makes me fuller longer. Number 5, when the hunger came back, and also kind of food chatter came back too, but more importantly, the food chatter was more of the brain chemistry of that. The real hunger came back. Learning to discern, and again, I feel like I'm slower than the average bear. You probably very well are smarter than I am. That I could not discern at the beginning of real hunger versus head hunger, meaning the person on the left, I wasn't really hungry in my body, but my head was rootin'. I used to call it rootin', where I'd go around rooting for something, looking for food. I'm not, I'm not really hungry. I'm just mentally hungry. And if I'm mentally hungry, it's head hunger of, do I need to get into prayer and meditation? Do I need to go for a walk? Do I need to talk to somebody? Am I having some unprocessed emotions? Things like that. Like going down the spectrum of all those things for me has been incredibly helpful to now discern, okay, if my body's really hungry, what does that feel like? What does real hunger feel like? And P.S., the other part of this that I do think a lot of people share about, and for me, I've really, really worked on this, is hunger is okay. We are human beings. We should be hungry by the way that our body is. And so not allowing myself to feel that hunger is doing my body a disservice. It's actually a loving choice to allow myself to feel some hunger. I just don't like it. And I'm really working on embracing that. That's something I'm still continuing to work on. 22 months in and 98 pounds down, I'm still really working hard on that one. Again, you may be smarter than the average bear, but I am a slow turtle. Hence the turtle. Oh, my turtle's, here's my turtle. I'm a turtle, honey. This has taken me a long, long time to learn these things. And so is it real hunger or is it physical hunger? And then allowing the real hunger with it too. And then going over to tip number 6 is too much, too little. Am I under eating? When to increase the ZEPBOUND dose or Mounjaro dose? Am I under eating? Am I overeating? Like, where am I within that? And so I used to get heavily triggered with tracking my calories and protein and stuff. I've had to work really hard on healing that aspect of my journey so I could track, so I could have accurate numbers. Because when I take emotion out of the equation and it's literally a math equation of, okay, how many calories, how much protein, like my macros and stuff, I can tell, am I under eating or am I overeating? It's an honest appraisal. And so that's my encouragement for you is, for me, I'm shooting for 1,500 calories per day on, again, not on that 24 to 36 hours, because that's kind of skewed with the appetite suppression, but on most days, particularly day 6 and 7, how am I acting? We know half-life dose for ZEPBOUND and Mounjaro is on day 5. And so naturally that appetite suppression, naturally at that point is naturally going to come down. But how much is it coming down, right? And so I think the biggest barometer for me is behavior changes in conjunction with these doses. Now, of course, and I erroneously thought all of my life problems were, how naive I was, were going to be solved by being on the highest possible dose. I'm not going to be hungry. I'm not going to be this. I feel like my body has very much become adapted and comfortable with this dose. I wish there was a higher dose, as I've mentioned previously. And so staying at each dose for me as long as possible, I wish I could have done that back earlier in my journey. And I have done myself a disservice going to the highest dose as quickly as I could in lieu of my eating challenges. Because P.S., I'm at the highest dose. I'm still really hungry. I still do have pockets of food chatter. And I'm really, really working hard now. And I wish I had worked hard at different doses to be able to have that like reprieve on like the tea kettle of, like, I need to be going up a dose and I just can't. But then some of you have also countered too, and I think it's important to say this as well. The counter of that is, maybe I would not have lost the 98 pounds having not been on this dose for so long. And yes, I would like to increase dose. And that's not coming probably for another 2 years until like retatrutide or some other higher doses are going to be probably released. I'm still waiting. And so it's giving, the blessing of it is it's giving me the opportunity to really work on some of these hard things and healing my relationship with food. I know you're probably thinking, and I will see several comments on it, but I want to cut it in the bud. And yeah, I'm going to nip it in the bud. She said cut it in the bud. Is I will not be stopping this medication. For me, this is not like an antibiotic where you go on for a short period and then you get off. For me, this is a GLP-1 deficiency. Chronic obesity management is a disease, meaning I need to manage the disease for the rest of my life. And so I don't foresee myself getting off this medication. For me, that would be a very grave danger if I got off this medication to pause and reset. Some people can do that. That is not for me. If that is you, high five, but for me, it is not. So I hope this video has helped give you things to talk to your healthcare provider about. I do want to make sure if you are just starting your GLP-1 journey to go get your 8 free sticks of your LMNT electrolytes with any purchase. drinkelement.com/queen, and that gives you the 8 free sticks. And our emoji of the day today is going to be a water bottle. Emojis of the day help me get to know you better because I truly do care, and I will also pray over you. It's like our bat signal. If you don't believe in prayer, I'll uplift you in positive thoughts. This is a positive community. Make sure you take advantage of all of my free resources down in the description link below. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. I'm Countess of Shop, and count my blessings because life is delicious. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow on tomorrow's episode. Bye guys. Have a great day. Bye.